When I first heard that a new show by Matt Groening called Disenchantment was hitting Netflix, I got pretty excited. I mean, as someone who loves Futurama and enjoyed The Simpsons for longer than most people, I was not only looking forward to a new show by the same creator, but was also interested in seeing how he would tackle a fantasy setting. While I was a bit disappointed when I started seeing reviews saying that the show wasn't very good, I wanted to form my own opinion and watched it anyway. What's my verdict now that I've seen all 10 episodes that are currently out? Will allow me to jump in. Set in the medieval fantasy kingdom of Dreamland, not to be confused with Kirby's homeland, the series follows the story of Princess Tiabeanie, aka Bean, a 19-year-old rebellious and alcoholic princess who feels that she doesn't really fit into the whole royalty thing and just wants to make her own destiny. Together with her happy-go-lucky elf companion named Elfo, as well as a strange feline-looking demon named Luci, the three engage in all sorts of misadventures around the kingdom, wreaking havoc wherever they go. Now, while that sounds pretty straightforward and you would think that this show would be a guaranteed success due to the people behind it, it's unfortunately received a really mixed response and, well, I'll admit it does have some flaws. For example, there's...
Hi, I'm Elfo.
Yeah, Elfo. I mean, he's introduced as an individual who isn't satisfied with the mindless joy that all the elves around him engage in, and decides to leave his home in order to be able to experience different emotions and think for himself. Cut to a few episodes later though, and he's basically this too dumb to live character that is always happy, and his defining characteristic is having a crush on Bean. While I myself don't hate the character, I can see why people do, seeing as how his inconsistent intelligence, focus on Bean, and even voice can get a bit annoying. Not only that, but some people have said that they feel the story works better without him, and while I don't completely agree, I do feel like nothing would have been lost from demoting him to a recurring character. Another problem with the show is that the structure feels kind of off. By this I mean that there is continuity within the show, but at the same time there isn't, if that makes sense. Like in regards to Luci, we know he was sent to Bean in order to influence her to do bad things, and we know who sent him to her, but despite these mysterious individuals checking in every so often, this never really goes anywhere. On the other hand, we have this recurring thing with the king wanting to find the elixir of life, and though at first it seems like nothing, it ends up being super important. The groundwork doesn't feel like it's been set up for this to be important, so when there's this big reveal, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing. The best way to describe the strange structure of the show is like it doesn't know what it wants to be. Should it have each episode be its own thing, like on a network, so that viewing episodes farther apart doesn't matter, or should it be serialized for optimum binge watching? This of course brings me to my last point, which is the humor. Similar to how the show's structure can be a bit inconsistent, the show's humor can be pretty hit or miss. I mean, that's not to say all the jokes are necessarily bad, but it just feels like sometimes they try too hard. I don't know if it's just me, but there's a joke during the 4th episode where a villager is pointing out how inconsistent the world of Dreamland is in regards to what is or isn't magical, and I just didn't find the attempt to be self-aware funny. Now with that being said, I do want to point out that the show has positives as well though. One thing is the voice acting. Not only do past Groening collaborators such as John DiMaggio, Billy West, and Tress MacNeille do a great job in their roles, but I think the main cast is stellar as well, with Eric Andre who voices Luci as a standout for me. Another thing that I like is the jokes. While this may sound a bit contradictory since earlier I noted them as a negative, what I mean by this is that while some jokes are far from great, the show is balanced out by some rather good ones. That time where the main trio gets high and Bean goes on a rant about them forming a band is pretty funny, for instance. And though Elfo isn't really my favorite, him cheerily responding to a lady who says, "I'm drowning" with, "Hi, I'm Elfo," was pretty funny. Finally, I think that similar to The Simpsons and Futurama, Disenchantment takes place in a pretty interesting world, and definitely one I want to spend more time in. Not only is it fun to see this medieval fantasy land that is a mishmash of different aspects of pop culture, but during the last few episodes of the season, we see that not all is as it seems in the world of Disenchantment, and I absolutely want to see where that story goes. This of course leads me to my conclusion, which is this. Disenchantment may be a flawed show, but it's still one that I enjoyed watching. Sure, the show may not be the best due to some characters and writing, and it may feel like it takes a few episodes to really start finding its rhythm, but I think the show has potential. For all those people out there say that this isn't as good as The Simpsons and Futurama? Well, no duh. Matt Groening hasn't done a show in years. This is a different type of format, and once again, it just began. Many shows take a while to really develop an identity. Like, Parks and Recreation may have been a beloved series by the time it ended, but a look back at the earliest episodes is rough. So do I recommend this show? I do, but I do so with a very strong warning that, number one, you might need to be a bit patient since the show gets better as it goes, and number two, even then, the show will not be for everyone. If you think you can stay open-minded and just appreciate the show for the dumb fun that it is, I think you'll be fine. If not, then this might not be the one for you. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just the Wannabe Reviewer. Thanks for watching.